Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
What are you, deaf and stupid? I said no.
No. Johnny, have you heard?
Yes. No, wait, no.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show, whoa, whoa.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
This episode of the Truck Show podcast, Have You Heard? Is proudly presented by Nissan. With the Frontier, Titan, and Titan XD, Nissan has a truck for every need, along with the legendary Nissan durability. Test drive your next truck at a local Nissan dealer today, or point your browser to nissanusa.com, where you can use the build and price tool to configure a Nissan truck that fits your lifestyle.
And when you're thinking about adding power or improving fuel economy, Banks has over 65 years of experience. Whether it's cold air intakes or exhaust systems, tuning, throttle control, charge air cooling, lubrication components, and much more, no one offers smarter, safer, 50-state emissions-compliant performance parts than Gale Banks. You'll find the best engineered parts for your truck at bankspower.com.
And when you're looking for quality, full synthetic lubrication for your truck, AMSOIL has you covered with motor oil, lubricants and protectants, grease, additives, and more. AMSOIL synthetic lubricants deliver wear protection, engine cleanliness, and fuel efficiency that conventional oils simply can't match. Find out how AMSOIL synthetic lubricants can save you money and time by helping your vehicles run better and last longer than with conventional oils at AMSOIL.com. When it comes to lubrication, AMSOIL is the leader in synthetics.
EGR now celebrating their 50th anniversary as a leading manufacturer of truck and SUV accessory products with headquarters right here in the good old US of A. As an Australian-owned, family-run business with humble beginnings, EGR is now a global leader in the automotive accessory industry. If you're looking for window visors, fender flares, tonneau covers, lights, hood guards, and more, you'll find them all at EGRUSA.com.
All right, then. Hey, Johnny, have you heard?
No.
You're supposed to say it like...
No one told me that.
That's our bit. We do this. He says, Lightning, have you heard? And I'm always saying no. Every once in a while I hit him with a yes, but no, usually I've not heard.
What are we hearing?
So normally we do news. So we go through like all this week's news, but I want you to kind of comment on some of the stuff. And
Yeah.
Like we talk about it, and then we never have anybody outside of our little bubble to challenge us.
Wow,
So,
it's very open-minded of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy the bubble. No, go ahead.
All right, since we got Jonny Lieberman here, did you see that recent study that said nearly half of EV owners in America want to switch back to gas?
I did not see that.
So basically inadequate charging infrastructure.
Oh, well, hold on. Tesla's PR person.
No!
No, not at all. They don't have a PR person?
No, that's true.
I mean, I find that surprising unless you have to rely on public chargers.
Then that changes
But
it a lot.
that's weird. It's nearly half because like if most EV owners own Teslas, and the Tesla supercharger network will say whatever you want about everything.
That's what's keeping that company alive right now.
It's real well,
and by opening it up to
Yeah.
the competitors. Although, how bummed are you if you're a Tesla person? You look over and you're in your Cybertruck, and you're like, oh, I'm Tesla. And you look over and there's a F-150 Lightning.
So I drove my Rivian to a Tesla supercharger, and
did they come after you with electronic torches?
No, I went to a big one in Pasadena.
Could you imagine if they all chased you with like flashlights? Get out of here, you!
They didn't even look up from their phones. Not a single person.
You interloper!
I have a bright yellow truck, and not a single person even moved an eye.
Is that indicative of most of the EV owners that they're just all about tech?
No, I think it's indicative that the
People are bored
the
when they're
psychologists that figured out how iPhones work.
Yes,
they've totally you think about your weekly screen time report. That time comes from somewhere.
Yes, it does.
What
did we do with that 6 hours before iPhones?
I know exactly.
So how many chargers do you think we have here in the U.S.? Johnny might even know.
17,000.
Lighting?
Teslas or
No.
total?
Just how many total chargers do we have?
Well, that's. Does that count home or
I
public?
think it's public.
Public. Oh, so I'm going to guess first before because
20.
wait, don't say because you're going to be closer because you cover this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to say $25,000.
Yeah, I'd agree about 25. 20. The problem is there's these charge point chargers which they just put $1 billion in. None of them work. So I would say how many working chargers?
That's like 8 or something like that.
Yeah. But 25,000 is a pretty good guess.
Public chargers for EV. And then let me ask you this. Do you think it's more than gas stations or less than gas stations?
Oh, less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, the charge point's the problem.
Are you talking about individual, not pumps versus charging stations?
Gas stations versus EV chargers.
This company
versus
charge
locations where you can charge.
It's probably more than gas stations.
Here's what's fascinating.
Yeah, but that's just because of charge point.
Gas stations, 196,643 in the U.S.
Yeah.
Stations. Jesus.
Now, public EV chargers?
Yeah.
Shocking, 183,000.
They're actually
lying sack of
They're actually comparable. They're actually really close to each other. That's amazing.
But remember, again, if you're talking about let's say a Chevron is equal to a Tesla supercharger station.
Right.
A charge point is equal
Negative.
if I handed you a Coke can full of gas. Like
they are the worst.
They're 7 kilowatts.
You know what
all
sucks
broken.
is they make a really good home charger.
Sure.
But their network is horrible.
But you know the thing is they don't maintain them. They sell them as like a third party to like a landlord, and the landlord's like, "What broke? Fuck you."
Yeah, no, I'm not putting any more money into that.
Yeah.
So here's what's interesting. So this is the reasons: 24% inability to charge at home, 21% stress of worrying about charging, and 16% had charging mobility requirements. It said 13% said they did not enjoy the driving experience, which I find hard to believe because the driving experience is one of the better things about an EV.
I would say 13% are Nissan Leaf owners.
All right. That could be-
There's not that many Leaf owners.
No, there actually are.
Are there that many Leafs?
Yeah,
It's been around for a long time.
They sold a lot of Leafs. Again, look, a good EV, wow, but also a good gas car, wow. So, I that seems high that half want to go back. That seems like a high stat to my ears. Because most people, I met early on, I met a lot of Model S owners that were early adopters in 2013-14 that never got a home charger that said, I'm going on a road trip. And they were like, that sucked. I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
What? No. What? No. What? No.
No, I have not.
Ram is number one in JD Power 2024 initial quality, which is crazy. Johnny is. Johnny just had a giant
Did you
huff.
say Ram?
Yeah,
How's that possible?
He said,
What you talking about,
because I think there's a lot of brand loyalty, and they don't want to.
Oh,
say
is that?
anything. Yeah.
I mean, and not to throw JD Power under the bus, but
why not?
I've
Can
known
they,
a lot-
wait,
I've known a
are
lot
you
of
saying
people
they
that
can
work
be
there.
purchased?
I've just known a lot of people that work there. They're not the sharpest knives on the block. So I'd like to see their methodology for RAM being number one.
Well, it says
but
that-
it's initial, so it just
Its initial
means
is 90 days, right?
Yeah, I mean,
90 or 180.
you
something like
purchase
that.
your truck. Are you stoked? Fuck yeah, bro.
exactly.
It's under warranty and everything.
Full size light duty pickup for the second consecutive year it got the title, and then the Ram 2500, 3500 HD earned third place among heavy duty pickups.
I mean, look, a Ram 1500, despite getting a little long in the tooth, although they're starting to
Still
replace them.
a great truck.
It's a great truck.
Yeah.
It is a great truck.
It's one of my favorites.
I mean, God, I remember this would have been like 2014, 15. Like we had this long-term 1500 on air suspension. It was burnt umber, whatever, orange color. Had the Ram boxes and like, man, I love that thing. Just because at the time, no pickup truck had that ride quality. Just it was like it was right at the transitory point. They started making Leaf Springs unloaded ride better, but like before that, they were just trucks and they rode horribly. And I remember this thing. I was like, oh my God, it's so good.
What truck do you think rides the best today?
Rivian.
3/4 ton.
Oh,
no,
3/4.
3/4 ton.
They're so similar. I mean, it's probably Ram, but like
I'll go Super Duty.
Super Duty
It's
is
kind
so
of soft.
good. Like seriously, like
The GMs ride nice, but they're still hard on the torsions.
really taut.
Yeah.
yeah, my problem is it's such a sophisticated competitive segment. How do you even critique heavy duty trucks? It's so hard to. They're all good. They're all. And probably Super Duty because it was the newest one to have a refresh, and it's it's just like, yeah, Super Duty is really impressive.
Especially for being solid axle.
But like when
And
the Ram,
the HO, but what
yeah.
the HO is crazy with 1,200 pound-feet of torque right off the dealer, off the showroom floor. I think it's nuts.
yeah. No, it's
It's an amazing truck.
I'm in awe of those vehicles. Their heavy duties are great. So it's I'd have to get the current crop together and drive them back to back to back. But I remember but I remember like in 2015 having an unloaded Ram dually, a 3500
That sucks.
going down the 110, and I was like, this is
this
a
horrible.
joke.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
my kidneys are mush.
Yeah, but they fixed it. They fixed it. So.
All right, hey, Lighting, have you heard?
No, I have not heard.
Shelby just released their F-150, and it's $27,000 more than a Raptor R.
Wait, what?
27, and that's with no engine mods. Now, if you want to get the stock 400 horsepower Coyote in a lesser truck and build it up, it's only $17,000 more. Holy crap!
This is Shelby America.
Yeah.
Well, some people really
you
like the
that?
word Shelby.
I'd rather just have R, right?
Dude, I mean, look, they put us in literally in a
paying for that?
playground. Yeah. But I mean, how good is that R? It was
so
really
good.
It's
Who's paying for the
really
Shelby
good.
stuff? Really? Like,
Well, listen, the
who
price-
wants that?
It starts at $130 without any engine mods, and then if you want to add engine mods, you're going to go up to $139,995.
There's a segment of
Is it the Hennessy segment?
No, because I think you'd get a Hennessy, but there's just a segment that really have reverence for Carroll Shelby, and that's attractive. Then I think there's a separate segment that like they know the word Shelby, they have a lot of money to burn, and they frankly get conned into buying them. I've had some very bad luck with Shelby America. This is not like a Ford Shelby.
Yeah,
this is Shelby
the
America
aftermarket,
in
right,
Las Vegas.
Right.
It's a lot of money, and they don't.
It's just bolt-ons, right?
Raptor R.
But I mean, isn't it just a bunch of bolt-ons that you can almost do yourself?
Well, you get what they call Raptor style suspension, but it's just Fox suspension, 35s on 22s, fender flares, dual intake hood, extractors, the Shelby grill, just all the normal stuff that you could, I think, build. I mean, I'm sure there's some Shelby only stuff that they develop, but it's.
I just think
it's the 5-liter also, and not the 5.2. So it's the Coyote engine with the blower on it, but it's not the Ford Performance R motor.
Just the SVT people, the Ford Performance now, I guess they're called, but there aren't better engineers in the automotive space. They're so good at what they do. And so you're not getting the engineering behind it.
Especially since SRT was disbanded.
Yeah, exactly right. You know what I mean? And I'm even talking like go up against M or AMG or any the exotic stuff from the GT500, the GT350, the Raptor, the R. God damn, they build good products.
Right.
By the way, I get accused of being a Ford hater all day and night. So I think that's the problem with Shelby America is they don't have that team. That's a real sophisticated, brilliant.
Well, they're not. It's not.
It's still aftermarket.
It's not in. Yeah, it's aftermarket. They don't have the engineers at all.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a tough sell for me.
Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
No, haven't.
So apparently Volkswagen and Scout have come out since the Rivian deal and said that their plans for Scout have, quote unquote, not changed.
I've heard that.
And so I think that's interesting because I think we all wondered, like, oh, that's a huge investment. Now they want that architecture that puts all the modules.
Right. It's basically ECU architecture.
Right.
So it's in other words, instead of having an ECU that runs lights and an ECU that runs brakes and an ECU that runs motors, you break the car up into 4 quadrants. And so anything that happens in the rear of the vehicle, whether it be brake lights, tailgate, tonneau cover, whatever, is all in one ECU instead of being on 3 or 4. And they want that zonal architecture and they want the software.
All I know is I hope
no
that
platform sharing.
There's a $1 billion now and 4 down the line. I hope that gives Rivian some cash flow to get that R3 out because that thing's
R3X.
R3X, exactly.
Tri-motor.
Dude.
So just so we know, so it's going to be as far as I understand, it's the same motors in the tri-motor R1 product, which means
that are in R3.
Wow.
It could be 850 horsepower
in that little car.
In the size of...
That's like a little Lancia rally car size, right?
So it's the same 3 motors.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it definitely gives me.
And by the way,
Woody.
those motors are capable of more than that. They just have it in the tri-motor. They have it. They wanted to beat Tesla by 5 horsepower. That's all it was. Just beat the Cyber Beast. They can't. I don't know if they ever will, but they can make more.
So Lightning, did you hear?
I said no.
No.
So we've been talking about the 2025 Ram.
I just like cracking him up with my.
With
Johnny's
your
like
nose?
he doesn't know where all the
because
notes
you
are
don't
coming from.
you don't have somebody sitting next
Smash
to you.
Mouth. You weren't expecting that band to
I'm
pop
just
up.
like, who has the time to like all these clips?
Oh, and he has thousands of them, and
my
he just pushes them all the time, and sometimes we have to
my God.
slow him down.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we talk about the powertrain? I think there was some guesses as to what it could be.
For which one?
This would be the Ram 2500, the 2025 HD.
Are you talking about the
2500,
fact that
300.
the HO is no more?
Sort of.
Oh, what?
So now the rumor out is 8-speed ZF, which is what we've talked about, right? Replacing the Eisen 6-speed. But now there is no HO because the same output Cummins will be across the entire lineup, which is supposed to be mighty healthy. And that 8-speed is exactly what they need on that engine.
for sure.
ZF 8-speed is such an amazing transmission. That thing is in everything from a
TRX?
I was going to say a Charger to a Lamborghini Urus is a ZF 8-speed.
I've got a ZF 8-speed in my garage right now on the 392.
Yeah, it's
Great trans.
And like the real high output crazy like in the Audi the S8. It's an automatic, but it upshifts, doesn't downshift, but it upshifts as quick as like a dual clutch. It's an amazing to watch it bang off gears. Like if you're a real tack, it's like
Whack, whack, whack.
Yeah, if you're
I
into
can't believe
watches,
that-
it's super cool.
It almost looks, the tack looks digital and like fake.
Yeah.
It's
But
moving
that's
so
good
quickly.
because less heat, the faster you can make that shift, right?
And that's a real mature transmission. I think
Yeah.
the GM Ford 10-speed by this point is pretty mature.
Yeah. I think
Ford
Ford's had some
Toyota could use
issues.
that. Toyota could use that ZF in their Sequoia.
It says that the 6.4 liter Hemi will still be the base engine, and there are reports that it will get a little bit of a power bump, which I think it needs, but it will not be getting the Hurricane at this point, which will stay in the light duties.
But you were on. I think it was in Westlake. You were on the last heavy duty Ram launch, and they had that like $32,000 or $34,000 $2,500 gas.
Yeah, 6.6 gas. Yeah,
dude, that was the sweetest thing. That truck was like
just bone, like bare bones.
It was like driving a truck from the 80s. You know, it was a little bigger, I guess, but like that thing was sweet.
Did it have that itty bitty tiny LCD screen in the middle of the dash? They would look like.
I mean, they cost cut it, you know, to fleet sales, but it was just like. No option, super light. We did have. Do you remember? I was at the office. This is years ago, but it was a Ram. It wasn't the. It was like the long hauler, but it was a Cummins manual.
Yeah.
Like long bed dually. Do you remember that thing?
yeah.
That
was that red?
It was red.
Red. Yeah,
I love that.
So I remember Nick Kappa
Yes.
purposely purchased that to put in the media fleet, and it was like the last year of the manual. It was a red manual dually, and it was like rad.
Yeah, and it was because it was like the long bed, like mega
Which is
cab,
just whatever.
But then
It was
maybe the long hauler. Remember that thing?
That thing was awesome.
160 gallons.
We did a bunch of stuff at on Diesel Power Magazine with that back in the day.
We were
stock with 160 gallons.
Well, no, it was a one-off.
It was a
project.
concept thing.
But we pitched them hard. We were like, we want to go to Jacksonville, Florida, and because I figured out what the range was, and I was like looking coast to coast, and like Jacksonville to San Diego, I think if you stayed on the 8 was like 2,200 miles, and like that with 160 gallons, that was
you could
maybe
do it?
could do it without filling up. And they were like, we're not going to send it to Jacksonville. We're not sure, but we did. We took it to like Area 51 or something. But it was fun. Those things were cool.
Hey, lighting. Have you heard?
Oh, hell no!
No, I have not.
So in our last episode with Johnny, we talked about the Land Rover Defender, and now they have the Octa. Have you been informed of this Octa?
I read about it, and it was like, I have enough horrible things in my head. But apparently it's cool.
It actually has a wheel and tire package that looks cool, according to the photos I'm looking at, and it's a 4.4 liter mild hybrid V8 making 626 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque.
So that's the M5 motor, the current M5 motor, and also in the X6M, X5M.
Now, it's got bulgier fender flares, which make the body look less like a block. It sits 1.1 inches higher than the standard Defender, and it's a 2.7 inch wider stance, which I'm sure is done with wheel offset.
Yes.
And then
I'm also, knowing nothing about it, I'm also positive.
and it says it's got 15.7 inch front brakes and 6-piston Brembos up front.
Finally.
Yeah, right?
15.7 is good. Urus is 17.2. So
Have you? We didn't get a chance in our last episode to talk about Lamborghini, which just kills me. But I'm going to interrupt this episode to do it for a second. I got to know about that Lamborghini, and I'm going to Italy. I'm taking as a graduation present. We saved up We're going to take my oldest.
Are
to,
you sure?
to
Are you
Italy.
sure you don't want to know that it hits the Octa hits 60 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds
That's
and can reach
crazy.
155 miles per hour while fording 3.3 feet of water with its 22-inch wheels?
That's 22s. Solid. Yeah.
You know, so those 15.7s are going to look small.
yeah. So, should I go to Lamborghini and take the tour? Because I hear post COVID they're doing the tour again.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah, the tour.
it.
The tour is. I would say that it's not a big tour, so it's not a big factory. And the one time I've been there recently, look, the Urus is now the best seller, so the Urus factory is much more modern. They were switching over for the refresh when they went from Urus to Urus S and whatever Urus Performante. So I've never seen the actual Urus factory. I saw the Urus paint shop, which is pretty fascinating. Be aware, they have the new V12, the Revolto, I think it's called. That you might be able to see that, but they're the new Huracan replacements coming, so that factory might be shut down. Lamborghini Museum is in the front of the factory. It's super cool, super worth seeing, and the most important thing is directly across the street from the factory, there's a restaurant. So Lamborghini was founded in 1966. The restaurant was erected in 1967. Best lasagna I've ever eaten.
really?
It's in Bologna. San Agata is
Yep.
Lamborghini's literally in a farming community. Lamborghini was a tractor maker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
How bad was the movie? Did you see it?
I don't want to talk about it. Like Bologna, in my opinion, is the best food in Italy. And I was shocked. It's literally everyone in there is a Lamborghini factory worker. It's so classically European. The workers, the blue collar guys, sit on one side, and the white collar guys sit on the other.
What? Really?
Well, there might be rules against it. Like I know in Germany, I can't remember what they're called, but the workers get these 2 15-minute breaks where management is not allowed to talk to them. And I've literally been doing something where we have like blue collar guys and white collar guys, and at 10:15 the break happens, and they just the blue collar guys just stop what they're doing, sit down, pop their beers, and drink, and we have to sit there with our arms folded, like looking at our watches, waiting. So it might be like union rules.
Gotcha.
Don't let them eat together. Same food, it's just different sides of the building.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean this lasagna.
That's an SUV I would love to have and would never
Urus?
afford. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, so good.
Sign me up.
So good. Such an amazing.
Really,
still an amazing.
super
vehicle.
awesome Audi. I just love.
It is an Audi.
It's funny that people always say Audi because it's the Volkswagen Group. It's the MLB Evo 2 platform, which underpins everything
yeah.
from the Audi A4.
It's like the Tinga on Toyota,
It's
right?
the Tinga.
Yeah.
But I will say this about the Urus. It's much more closely related to the Cayenne than it is to the
Which
RSQ8.
I've liked the Cayenne since day one.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the original Cayenne
yeah, it
was legendary,
amazing.
overbuilt.
Yeah.
That was the Piech era of like we're gonna make a Volkswagen that's better than an S class,
Right,
the Phaeton. We're gonna make an SUV that like is
V8
fast.
Touareg TDI. We had one.
the
before.
V10, the V10,
one of the only ones. There's 560 in the U.S. and we had one.
They're amazing.
yeah.
And then we're gonna make the Veyron. Like it was just Piech at its full power.
We're gonna just own everything.
Yeah. So the RSQ8 is not as closely related to the Urus as the Cayenne is.
Really? But they look like
Look at
if
that.
you park them next
Jonny
to each other.
Lieberman spitting facts and setting people straight. You hear that right here on the Truck Show podcast.
I mean, the Cayenne, it's called the Turbo GT. So the Urus motor, the V8, which is 4-liter twin turbo, they're all 4-liter twin turbos. But in the RSQ8, it's like 590 horsepower or whatever it is. It's 641 in the Urus, and it was actually built by Porsche GT division. That's the race division, does the GT3s. And then the Cayenne Turbo GT is 631 horsepower. Supposedly it's 10 horsepower less. I mean, go ahead and measure it. So those two are real close. But the Lamborghini is light. Is 200 pounds lighter than the Porsche, 500 pounds lighter than the Audi, 1,000 pounds lighter than the Bentayga. They're all 4-liter twin turbo, same architecture, same suspension stuff.
Do you think
But Lambo, they really do tune these things.
Do you think that the Urus will ever lose enough value to make it affordable to guys like us? Or will it always, is it just going to be too limited quantity? There was a time
They do sell a lot of them.
So there was a time like my SL55 we talked about in the last episode, that car was, I have the original sticker, was 121.
Yeah.
I couldn't have afforded that car. You know, I paid $24,000 for it. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. Quite possibly because the Urus more than doubled. I believe more than doubled their sales volume, and they do sell a lot of them. So I don't know. I don't know what affordable means, but like, would one
Listen, if you can provide that or afford that Coke hit, you can afford the Urus.
Do you think that they would get to within $100,000 range? Probably not.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I believe so, because it's a used SUV at the end of the day. It's not.
It's not like a last generation Toyota Supra 2JZ Turbo, which are going for 180 now for an automatic with 200,000 miles.
It's got freaking Lamborghini badges on it, you know? Like,
I mean, where's my time machine? Because remember, the one of my favorite cars is the 70s and 80s Aston Martin V8.
Yeah.
And those got down to like 40,000. And the Testarossas were down to like 50 at one point.
if you fall like, Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
So I used to work with Adam, and he started buying Miras, Lamborghini Miras,
Genius.
when nobody was talking
wanted
about
them.
him.
Yeah.
And he's made a fortune.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
Yes. No.
No, I guess not.
We'll end with this one. So Ford CEO Jim Farley has, in an interview, I guess, with CNBC, said he wants Americans to get back in love with the small cars. And
Wait, what? They have abandoned
I know,
the small
that's
cars.
what's funny about
That's
this.
insane.
So
He had a Scion flashback.
I think yeah, right. So I think the crux of this was he realizes that in order to make affordable EVs, they need to be smaller, and everybody wants trucks, but those take massive batteries, which are expensive and heavy. So he's, was kind of lamenting like the Ford has put themselves in this place where we love our trucks, but if we're going to electrify Super Duties, they're going to be so expensive to get 400 or 500 miles of range. And, if people don't need a truck, like, let's get back. Well, I think if Ford made a sporty small car, let's go back to the Rivian R3X. If
Hell
Ford
yeah,
built something like an Escort 2000 or whatever, but as an EV, I think people would be all over that.
Yes.
They just don't make anything that's a fun, like...
The first company that does will crush
They're gonna crush it.
Just like Maverick had Maverick
right.
was an amazing hit that they didn't expect.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I think Rivian has fired a volley, but we know R3X isn't coming out right away.
2028.
So there's a lot of time for companies to go, ooh, let's jump in on that.
Yeah. And, the other thing, look, that Jim Farley's an intelligent human being.
He's also, I will say that he's also been extremely transparent.
Yeah.
In the last, he hasn't always been that way.
Yes.
And I feel like in the last year where he took the Lightning cross country, he's being more open as a CEO about,
right.
I don't know if that makes him more endearing to the customer or are they more trustworthy.
I think so. But did you see the LinkedIn thing he wrote this week?
no.
I'll pull it up, but he's like, this is a guy who not only does he race vintage Cobras, but he's really good. He wins races in them. He's a really good driver, and he's like, the article is basically like, I'm in love with electric cars, and he's like, look, this is coming from me, who's, I love V8s. I love my Cobra, whatever, but he's just like talking about how much he loves. Let me find it. Here's the article says, picture Jim in his Lightning, and he says, confessions from a lifelong petrolhead. I love electric vehicles, and it has nothing to do with politics. And kind of sounded like the conversation you and I had when we were smoking that cigar, and he just goes on and on about like how nice they are to drive, and it's an interesting read. It's on, if you go to LinkedIn, Jim Farley, it's thing.
Right tool, right job. I think
totally.
I think there's different tools for different things. I think EVs have a very specific place right now with a promising future opportunity as technology evolves. And I also think, hybrids have a place. I think gas has a place. I think a tapestry of technologies will get us through the next 10 or 15 years. I just don't like the mandates. I said that to you before.
Yeah.
I like the technology. I don't want somebody to tell me what I have to buy. I want to be able to decide on my own.
Yeah.
Let the technology sell me.
I just also think within 12 years, like there's not going to be a lot of gas cars left that people want to buy because EVs will just be real good.
Or just the drivability is so crappy for emissions that they're just not fun anymore or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it might. Look, there might be a case where it's like, if you do big towing, you need big diesel.
Then you need some license from the government to say you're allowed to purchase that. Or
did you hear, Johnny, when the new Duramax coming out in 27 would be like 8 liter, which we don't think it's going to be that big. We think it's going to be the 7s. But they're going to a much larger displacement to lower the compression ratio to cut down on the NOx.
So Porsche, a lot of people are doing this. Porsche, the new 911 hybrid, they went from a 3-liter twin turbo to a 3.6-liter electric turbo with a hybrid, and it's just the bigger the engine, it burns cleaner. You'll love this story. Aston Martin, they make this wackadoodle hypercar, the Valkyrie. It's $2 million, and they're losing $2 million on everyone they build.
I've seen it. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I drove it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
that's the one where the logo on the nose of the car is made out of some incredibly thin material.
It's steel, but it's 99% lighter than the typical steel Aston Martin badge. And before they glue it on, they got to keep it in a freezer because if it's room temperature, it starts to bend. So
then don't they paint over it?
Yeah, they gloss over it. Yeah. And that was a huge fight. That was a huge. Newey said, "Get it off there." And this is a great story. So Miles is the head of exterior design for Aston. He put together a PowerPoint presentation showing every single Aston Martin has always had a steel badge on the front. He left off, of course, the ones that didn't.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But anyways, so it's got a 6.5-liter V12, and it revs to 11,000 RPM, 1,000 some horsepower. And so and it turned out they didn't plan this, but it passed. They thought they were going to really struggle with EU emissions. Well, it turned out it burned super clean because it's pretty good sized bore. And then my favorite part was when they were doing the emissions testing, they released more carbon dioxide testing the engines than all 285 engines will release over their lifetime.
That's true.
To make sure it was compliant.
Yeah, hey, perfect.
Yeah,
it's just like the government super duties that have no after treatment on them, right? The military, you don't need that.
Right.
Oh man, did that cause an uproar the last couple of weeks? Holy crap!
That's insane. I mean, I get it.
People are they just feel like F you. Anyway.
Yeah, big F you.
Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
Welcome to Barnes and
No, I haven't.
Wow.
Well, the Truck Show podcast listeners hate Jonny Lieberman just a little bit less.
They probably hate me more. I would let's check the mail.
The Truck Show podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.